A very good evening to the viewers of Republic TV. Today we reveal to you the actual truth behind the saga that's been happening for the last 1 week. A saga that's been happening, but nobody really knows the truth about the letter, about what's really behind this war that's supposedly broken out in the CBI. A letter that has been accessed by us clearly shows out the truth. Till now, we don't know what is really the truth. Till now, we've only heard one side talking about what they believe to be allegations. Now, finally, we get you the other side. We also get you details today for the very first time about allegations and names till now that have not been heard. P. Chidambaram's name comes out for the very first time. Details come out about how ED and the CBI were scuttling probes in the Chidambaram case, in the Aircel Maxis case, in the 2G case, in several places. We bring to you, ladies and gentlemen, a letter of 21st July. I point out details of that and give you exclusive details. A letter that has been written by CBI's number 2, Rakesh Asthana, to the Cabinet Secretary on 21st of July 2018. Several points mentioned in it, but the most important point, viewers, a point that is shocking in itself. In this letter, and I'm going to quickly have a camera person come to me to pinpoint these details and mention it because it shows for the very first time great details that link the quid pro quo between 2G companies and P. Chidambaram and how the CBI and the ED department for 10 full years overlooked it till Rakesh Asthana came and took over the probe. These details, which the CBI head, Alok Verma, did not speak about. These details, which the ED did not speak about. Why is it that it was overlooked in the Aircel Maxis case and in the 2G case? Not only that, it also includes payments of bribe by the 2G case linked company to companies of Kartik Chidambaram. These details were only found by Rakesh Asthana. This is a letter that is actually talking about the work that Rakesh Asthana had done in several of the most important cases he followed. It includes the Bikaner-Vadra case, it includes the Aircel Maxis case, the Kartik Chidambaram INX Media case where Indrani's investigation happened, and finally, he also goes on to talk about the case in which the FIR is there. But first, viewers, I'm going to go and show you exactly what he says about the allegations that have been made of favoritism against him when it comes to P. Chidambaram. He says at one point in this letter, Kartik Chidambaram, it was directly linked that an amount of 1.20 crore rupees originated from so-and-so company. It belonged to Kartik Chidambaram through North Star. It was shocking to note that this direct quid pro quo between 2G linked companies and P. Chidambaram was not noticed by the CBI or the ED, and wait for the most important part, for more than 10 years of their investigation into the issues and resulted in eventual acquittal in the 2G case. Had these transactions been noticed by the 2G, the SIT, perhaps the outcome of the case could have been different. Whether this direct linkage of Chidambaram with 2G linked companies having been overlooked by the SIT and the ED authorities was a deliberate act of mischief or not needs serious consideration. It's not the first time, viewers, in this letter that this has been mentioned. At another point in this letter, and it's a top secret letter that has been shot off on the 21st of July 2018 to the Cabinet Secretary by Rakesh Asthana, where he's talking about how Dr. Swamy has raised certain allegations against him. He also attacks the ED in the probe they've done. He says 10 years, nobody spoke about Chidambaram. He goes on to say at one point that in utmost secrecy, we took the confessional statement of Indrani. He also says the ED conducted raids at Kartik Chidambaram on 1st 12/2015, took more than a year to refer the matter relating to Kartik to us. Till that time, no ECIR was registered by them in the INX Media case. He attacks the ED's case and states why did the ED do no work at that time. At another point in the Aircel Maxis case, this is where he speaks about the ED investigation. He says, even after a lapse of 8 to 9 years, he was not able to complete the investigation against P. Chidambaram, which also reflects his professional capacity and intentions. He then talks about the CBI head, and this is, viewers, for the very first time, a direct attack, a direct voice of Rakesh Asthana being heard, where he questions his superior and says, when I gave my detailed report on the Aircel Maxis case, why did it take almost 4.5 months from 20th of Feb 2018 to 19th of July 2018 for Alok Verma to take a final decision to file a charge sheet? More importantly, 2 days before filing the charge sheet, the entire evidence was gathered, was also given on to the ED. Now, very important points, because 4.5 months delay clearly means that when Rakesh Asthana gives the evidence, that evidence is not put forward. This point, like I've mentioned, so crucial that it is shocking to note direct quid pro quo between 2G-linked companies and P. Chidambaram was not noticed by the CBI or the ED for more than 10 years of their investigation into the House. Before I go on to other parts of the letter, let me quickly go across to our senior news editor, Shavan Sen, who's also joining us on the broadcast. Shavan, a Pandora's box is opened up, because for the very first time, we've heard allegations, counter-allegations for the last 7 days, but why now we have a word, a clear word that's coming in, that's clearly showing us a picture with this letter about what really happened in all these cases that were being handled by Rakesh Asthana. Whether it's the Bikaner Vadra case, where he talks about how there was a windfall gain by all the companies that were owned by Robert Vadra, whether it's the Augusta Westland case, where in this letter it's clearly given out that senior government functionaries were being probed, or whether it's very clearly, most importantly, P. Chidambaram's role that had clearly been overlooked for the longest time by the CBI and ED. Shavan.
Well, in fact, Rhythm, let's put this in perspective. Mr. Rakesh Asthana had written a letter to the CVC on the 24th of August, and thereafterwards multiple letters also sent in the month of October, where he was reiterating the same very point, that all the investigations which are sensitive in nature and the cases that you've mentioned, they are political in nature, and there was perhaps an attempt that was being made by the senior officer to scuttle the probe. And that's exactly what he's actually told the CVC. And CVC today, in its own statement, they made it very clear that despite getting in touch with Mr. Verma with regards to these very cases, he did not share the files. And that is one thing that has been, that certainly raises eyebrows. Because remember, in that letter that you are talking about, and also the other letters the Republic TV has access, clearly he goes on to detail the fact that his SIT team was looking into some very sensitive cases. The IRCTC scam, where he's talking about how the director essentially tried to scuttle the entire probe, ensuring that last moment the investigating officers' air tickets are cancelled, and thereafterwards also files being stuck with the JD policy for the approvals not being sent out. So all of this put together, remember what Mr. Asthana has been trying to also project through these letters that have been sent to the CVC as well as the Cabinet Secretary, is the fact that there was some amount of hurdles that were put as far as these important cases are concerned. And that's exactly what he has been pointing out time and again, be it in the letter that was written on the 24th of August. And that's the same very letter which today the CVC has also quoted in its statement.
Okay, Shavan, just stay on with us. Let's also go across to the BJP's Amit Malviya, who's joining us on the phone line. Amit Malviya, look at the kind of details that are coming out in a letter in which a Pandora's box is opening up. In the Augusta Westland case, Rakesh Asthana writes that senior functionary's role has been probed by me. In the Bikaner land scam case, he says that Vadra's company's windfall gains have been exposed by me. He also talks about Chidambaram's role that for 10 years in the 2G case was not even probed properly by the CBI and the ED. When such facts are there on the face of it, and in this letter, he also talks about the case that's even been questioned in the FIR. How is it in the Sandesh Sara case? He says that there was no such truth, there's not a grain of truth in these allegations. How are we to look at the kind of allegations that are being put forward by the other side?
Well, one thing is very clear, particularly the way opposition has come out in support of one officer over the other, that there is something quite fishy in the way things have gone about. And it's quite to credit of the government that it has cracked down on the kind of indiscipline that we've seen in India's premier investigating agency. We all know that during the Congress era, the CBI was famously called as the cage parrot. And some of these allegations that are now emerging seem to point that there are still people, who were towing a certain political line, which was favoring the Congress and the leaders of the yesteryears. And now that the matter is in front of the CVC, the government has acted decisively to see that any issue or any acrimony that exists in India's premier investigating agency does not bring down its reputation. And I think we should look at all the information that is trickling out and look at them in the context, and it will be quite clear how such agencies were politicized by the previous dispensation.
Okay, absolutely, Amit Walia. Do stay on with us. We also have our guests who are joining Sakil and me in the studio. We have our executive editor, Abhishek Kapoor, joining us. We have Charu Pragya joining us, Aishwarya Bhatti, lawyer of the top court, joining us. We also have Professor D.K. Giri, Dr. Farooq Khan, who's also joining us. Several advocates, in fact, on this panel. And you would understand, and I'm going to first go across to the political commentator, Professor Giri, joining us here. Professor Giri, you understand the law like everybody. But this letter clearly opens up a Pandora's box about the kind of investigation Rakesh Asthana was doing. It shows to us why he was being targeted. But it's a very nasty war that we've seen break out. It's no longer about just an internal crisis, but why this particular war was actually manufactured, wasn't it?
I don't know whether it was manufactured, but it's very sad that your the tagline in your news really exposes the paradox. Clean up in CBI. CBI, which is supposed to clean up the mess in the country, the corruption in the country, it needs cleaning up. That is a contradiction we have to live with today. And both the directors were appointed by the present government, and the BJP spokesman to say that opposition was fishing in the troubled water is absolutely ridiculous. The government is responsible for creating this mess and undermining.
Let's stick to what rhythm. The documents, the rhythm is breaking. Clearly points out to one fact, Professor Giri, that there was a deliberate go slow. Yes. I mean, Rakesh Asthana is mentioning about it in detail. Why don't you address that point? And is that the reason why Alok Verma's forced leave is hurting the opposition? Is that the reason that the opposition, particularly Congress, is batting for Alok Verma right now?
Absolutely.
Is that not very clear with him right now?
It is their fines. Both are the
so it's not a manufactured letter, it's a proper, authentic piece.
We have no business to get into CBI's operation. Every department has its internal checks and balance.
Unfortunately, now we can no longer say after a week of slugfest, Abhishek would also come in here, that we should no longer get into the role of the CBI. Look at what's been said in the letter. For 10 years, the CBI and the ED did not do anything when it came to Chidambaram rolls and the quid pro quo in 2G. While the Aircel Maxis case did Alok Verma sit for 4.5 months when the report by Rakesh Asthana had been given. And I asked this to Abhishek, and then I also go across to Charu Pragya.
Abhishek. CBI itself is under scrutiny.
Rhythm, the point is that Rakesh Asthana was so frustrated that he had to write to the cabinet secretary, he had to write to the Central Vigilance Commission that his work is being obstructed. And it's only after the gravity of the letter was understood that CVC launched its own investigation. And as it comes out from its order today, that even CVC's work was being obstructed by the then powers of CBI. So it's clear that it was not only investigation by Rakesh Asthana that was being obstructed. Rakesh Asthana's complaint to CVC was also being obstructed, or investigation of that complaint was also being obstructed by CBI. So there seems to be a sinister design that was put in place to not let investigations in all these important politically sensitive cases go further. Now, that's a matter of investigation by the CVC. That's a matter of investigation by the CVC. But you have to understand, no, there is a deductive logic. There is a deductive logic. No, there is a deductive logic. By who? I will answer that. There is a deductive logic. Now, there are certain set of people who are accused of these or suspect in these investigations. If these investigations go slow, there are certain set of people who benefit, and that is the deductive logic, that the beneficiaries of go slow of these investigations were essentially behind this sinister design perhaps, and that is why the government and the CVC, they really wanted this thing to be investigated, and the same people perhaps through the then powers of the CBI.
Service rules. They should follow that.
Okay, another question.
Well, that's what the CBC order says, that the service rules were not being followed.
Okay,
that
Professor Giri,
obstruction was
I
being
also
put
want to
in
get
place.
my other panelists here. Aishwarya Bhatti, you've seen the kind of allegations that are also made. Today we've seen Alok Verma, the CBI head, move the top court, and in a quick 1-minute hearing in the Supreme Court mentioning the case has been listed for Friday. Clearly it's on Friday that we shall see what the top court does in it. But what actually comes out in this letter is, look at the amount of prominent cases that Rakesh Asthana was doing. We've also got inside details which we shall be revealing over the next few days about how exactly the probes were going on. But very intelligent and very interesting to note that the ED was also doing nothing in the Aircel Maxis case. The ED was doing absolutely nothing in the 2G case. It was actually the CBI under Rakesh Asthana that actually carried these cases to their conclusion. Today, Alok Verma moves the court. Today, there are sensational, details that are coming out about raw officers and all. But is this something that's only coming out against some honest officers?
May I respond to
this?
Well,
Rhythm, your expose does add a lot. This letter does add a lot. Yeah, let me respond, sir, then you can add. The issues are extremely serious, but the issues are not political at all. What we need to understand is 2019 general election may be around the corner, but we don't want politicians to wash their dirty linen into this. Of course, when CBI number 1 and CBI number 2 have pose such grave allegations on each other, it needs to be thoroughly investigated. Everything needs to come out, and the CBI needs to come out clean more than anything else. Now, all this political slugfest was bound to happen. It is going to happen. Now, Supreme Court also, you're right, Rhythm. Otherwise, the current Chief Justice is not really, appreciating mentionings like it used to happen earlier. So, for him to take cognizance of the petition and list it for Friday itself also speaks. Now, we also have to look at the Vineet Narayan judgment where Supreme Court has laid down specific guidelines. But this is also an extraordinary situation. And extraordinary situation could not have been sorted out by one of them being at the helm of affairs. Both needed to go out for a proper, thorough and fair investigation.
Dr. Farooq Khan wants to respond to that.
Can I now?
Okay, Dr. Farooq Khan, what is the issue? Why are you questioning the government when all the government has done is go ahead and ensure that there is no dereliction of duty on their part? Dr. Farooq Khan.
Rhythm,
it's a very type of amazing arguments we are having that BJP is in government and Congress is planning everything and controlling the government and the CBI for quid pro quo and everything, and Congress is to be blamed for all this fiasco. This is what we want to create a narrative. I'm sorry. Number one, Section 4B of DSP Act secures 2 years tenure for the director. There is a high power committee constituting of Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition and Chief Justice of India. The mandate of the committee has been bypassed. India is seeing full-blown constitutional crisis as an all-powerful political executive.
Abhishek has a very good pointer. Abhishek.
All the independent institutions of this country.
Can I come in over here, please? Rhythm, I have a point to make.
Check the director. This is how you run a second.
Okay, Charu, make your point. Sure, go ahead.
Yes. So what I want to say is, first of all, nobody is disputing the fact that there is a 2-year tenure. But let us also remember that there is no other way to ensure a free and fair investigation. This is the best possible decision which could have been taken under the circumstances when the top two men are against each other and they have very serious allegations levied against each other. No. They will influence the investigating. They will influence the investigating teams. We must also remember that they are on leave. Please allow me by 1 minute of time.
Advocate Farooq, one would fail to understand, even in this extraordinary situation when the government goes ahead with such a massive overhaul, number 1 is gone for a forced leave, number 2 is out on a forced leave, number 3 is also not in picture. Officers aligned to both the factions, Rhythm, are either transferred or shown exit door. If this is not a move to ensure transparency, then what it is? We're going to slip into... Professor Giri, everything doesn't have to be revolving around Prime Minister even here. All right. So the letters Rhythm is breaking right now. We need to take a break here. Is it a matter of coincidence that you have same names figuring in these letters also?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, we take a break here.
There is no mess. It's a created drama by certain
going by pure merits. In fact, a short break here.